Hey, folks. I've been recording a bunch of these little videos, and I thought I would record one of doing the Tequatl event in Guild Wars 2. So we're in the lead up. Tequatl's going to spawn in about 5 minutes, and you'll notice, like, there's just a bunch of people here. And this is always the case. Um, at least the first Tequatl of the day at server reset is always going to be populated. It is often the parade of sky scales as people show theirs off. Um, Mine is sufficiently fancy, but so you'll notice like there's also um, banners with buffs, and usually there'll be some food out here. So there's like a stack of birthday cakes over here that I put down, so that random people that wander in this event can get a food buff, get the banner buffs, and be prepared for the fight. And there's a lot of mechanics in this fight, and a lot of them largely don't matter to the random person, but essentially you'll see down here that there are these Hylek turrets, and they essentially need to be staffed by a person in the turret, and they're going to hit Tequatl during the fight. It's going to keep Tequatl from doing this super annoying mechanic that like spawns a bunch of these exploding fish heads, and also a wall of bones that you have to DPS down in order to keep damaging him. After the first burn phase, everybody breaks apart, and there are these objectives that have to be guarded. So here's a cannon. Over here is like a power source. Straight ahead of me is another one of these power sources. And then we'll fly over to this island, and you'll see there's another one over here. So basically there's 4 locations where everyone doing the fight has to break apart and guard these power sources. And this tends to be the one that's furthest away, so a lot of times it doesn't have as many people, so I tend to go over to this island. And yeah, so essentially, like, all of this happens, and it has been done so many times that essentially everyone knows what they need to do now. This is one of the oldest of the world bosses in Guild Wars 2, and it is by far my favorite, just because it feels like this giant spectacle. Um, so that's the quick rundown. Like we are located in Splintered Coast, which is kind of over by um, Lion's Arch is up there, and the Grove and Radasum are over here. So it's kind of off by itself. It's a 55 to 65 zone. But yeah, like this is one of the original big world boss events. Um, and what it's really known for is it just drops a ton of loot. And there's a bunch of items that can drop off here that are pretty cool. Like I've gotten several ascended items off of this fight. And it just feels epic. Like you're fighting this giant dragon. Um, I'm on my ranger right now. I am a longbow ranger, and I'm running a soul beast build. Um, and right now I'm in soul beast form. Soul beast basically allows you to merge with your pet, and instead of having a pet, you also inherit the abilities of your pet, um, and get a pretty decent damage buff as a result. So Now we're just kind of waiting on the boss to spawn. We're a minute or so out. On my clock, it's right at 7 o'clock, which is server reset, and you can see that I just got my chest down here in the corner. So in a few minutes, we're going to hear a Hylic, which are the frog people, say, "There's something in the water," which is the beginning of the event. And if you look out over here on this peak, that's where Tequatl's going to first show up. Is going to crash into the peak and then slam down on the ground in front of us, and it's pretty epic looking. So now we just have to wait for the event to fire. There it is. You can see off in the far distance, there's like bubbling in the water. Tequatl comes up, slams the mountain, and then slams down in front of us, and we burn it. So I hang out on this island because he has an attack that you'll see that are waves, and if I am on this island, I am outranging the attack so that I don't have to dodge the attack. Normally you would have to jump the attack to keep from getting hit and getting knocked down by the waves. You're also avoiding these poison areas. I often look for people that have gotten knocked down, because in Guild Wars 2 you can resurrect anybody just by stopping and hitting your F key to run a res and slowly bring their life back up to full. We're gonna get him to, I think it's 75 when the next phase starts, and then we'll break apart and I'll go off to the far island. Usually, since I am ranged, I'll hang out here, and you can see there's a couple people down already, so I'll go over there and I'll resurrect them so that they can move to the next area. Okay, gotta move. The poison dropped on top of me. Okay, we've almost got him to the transition point, and I got clipped by the fear. Okay. So once this junk clears out, okay, it looks like they released. I just saw that we've got. Okay. Make my way over. Now I can fly. And this, we're just trying to keep the spawns down so that they don't damage the cannons. Because if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, there are 4 bars, and those are basically the health bars of each of the mechanics. Okay, so this guy's down. Pick him up real quick. Oh, crap. And then Tequatl will, like, buzz past the targets and drop hatred on the ground that you have to avoid. And there's also a timer here of telling us when the laser's charged. So we're going to break off around somewhere between 20 to 10 seconds from the lasers being fully charged, so that we can pick up and get in place before the laser fires, and we can get a full burn in on Tequatl. Okay, we got 11 seconds. So we're gonna hop on the pad, and then I'm gonna glide. Get back into place. Now, Tequatl will crash land again after getting hit by the laser. Then we burn. And we're going to get it to 50%. And then at 50%, we go through another intermission. And just for the sake of showing off multiple destinations, we'll go over and we'll go guard the Hylic one. Okay, so this one, gotta stop grubs. And the grubs keep things from spawning. So we're gonna stop grubs, and then we're gonna kill these random bad Hylics. They're the undead Hylics. And keeping my eye open for grubs to stomp, because if I don't stomp the grubs, eventually more mobs will spawn. This veteran risen grub. And Tequatl is buzzing us again. And again, like, there's no formal communication happening between the teams. Everybody just kind of knows how these go now. And what'll happen is, if you're a first timer, you just kind of follow the packs of people. And after watching what they're doing enough, you'll eventually catch on to the mechanics. Some of the other mechanics for later world bosses are significantly harder, so it may require you to actually know what you're doing ahead of time. Okay, got 10 seconds till. Hopping back on, and then we'll fly over once I get out of combat and can actually mount. Okay, and same thing as before. This time we'll burn Tequatl to 25%. Okay, so we're 25%, and when you get to 25%, you can just move, because you're locked into the animation at that point. So we're gonna go to the furthest one, and it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing necessarily special about this one. The big difference is you end up with a lot of these bombers. There'll be big dudes that kind of lumber in from the side occasionally. Yeah, this dude, Plague Carrier. So he will explode once you get him low enough, or he'll explode when he gets close to somebody. So you're basically trying to keep them away from the cannon. Each one of these areas has its own unique thing that's going on. And they all have to be, like, worked on independently. And a lot of times, if you're at this far one, you'll also come over here and drop some damage on the middle one, because you're actually closer to it than any of the other people are. Okay, Keeping an eye on the timer. Still got 40 some seconds to go. Yeah, we got 26. Okay, and usually on this last one, people go back early. Because you're going to make the timer. It's not a big deal. There you go. It's down. Okay, so if you don't have the masteries to auto loot, you have to come over to the dragon box and come get your loot. I have the skill points, the masteries trained that basically gives me auto loot on anything in the world. So come here, loot my boxes, and then when I start opening these, we end up with a bunch of loot from the event. Karma. We end up with like a stack of greens. Blue. Couple yellows. None of this is going to be super useful loot, so I end up salvaging all the greens, which turns into a bunch of materials and essence of luck. And then I'll usually come here and I'll use a slightly higher salvage kit and salvage all the yellows. Because what I'm wanting to get is a bunch of globs of ectoplasm, which are useful for crafting. Deposit all my materials, and then use all of the karma, or not the karma, the luck, and then move on to the next event. And that's the flow of a Guild Wars event. Like, so I can pop into my I've got the World Boss portal device, and it tells me that next up is the Zvanar Shaman Chief. You know, I click on that, and it'll take me to the next World Boss in series. And you can basically do a chain all night long if you want to, popping from one event to the other. None of them actually requiring a formal formal group. So you can just pop in here, and I know that the Zvanir Chief spawns over here. So, you know, at some point there'll be an event that starts up here and goes over to that dragon crystal there, and it'll take down that event. So then I don't remember what's after Svanir Chief, but like there's a whole sequence of these world bosses that you can do back to back to back to back to back, and there's maybe 10, 15 minutes in between bosses. And it's just a lot of big dumb fun. Anyway, I thought about recording a Tequatl fight at some point, and I finally got around to doing it. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will see you the next time I record one of these. Bye.